Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Maat. I have with me today my good brother Garfield Reid. Brother Garfield Reid, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Y'all don't forget the greatest book ever written, man. Misconception, Misinformation by the Black Hebrew Israelites, Volume 1. I'm here living the life, man. I sold over almost 1,500 books already, and I'm doing pretty good. I just got 3 checks from Amazon on this week, a couple of days ago. So I'm doing good, man. I'm still selling books, doing my thing, marketing. The people in UK still requesting my love to come back over there and do some more stuff over there. And I'm living, man. I got part 2 coming out. As soon as I sell 5,000 books, I'm going to put part 2 out. So
Beautiful.
once I hit that mark, I'm good. Hmm.
Beautiful. All right, family, share the show because today, or share the discussion. I don't like saying show because you think of showmanship or something that's, dramatized. So share the broadcast, family. Today, Brother Garfield and I are dealing with the question, is Christianity an indigenous religion? And let me tell you, family, let me give you the backstory on this. I put up a post. It's on my Instagram page. So shoot to my Instagram page, dr.maat.msu underscore. Okay. So that is my Instagram page. I posted a reel entitled, What is Your Beef with Religion? And it was a discussion that I had on Sinetta's platform maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And Sinetta asked me, he said, what's your beef with religion? And I stated to him that my beef with religion is that one, it is not an indigenous African religion. It is not a spiritual system that came out of Africa. And it was a tool that was used, and I hear feedback, Brother Garfield, again. It was a tool that was in fact used to a tool used to enslave Black African people, a tool that was used to enslave Black African people. Brother Garfield, can you mute your mic because I hear feedback? Okay, or maybe it's me. Maybe I'm frozen. Family, let me know if I'm frozen or if Brother Garfield is frozen. I think he may be frozen. But religion is a tool that was used to um, enslave Black African people, and also a tool used to justify why they were able to take our lands and colonize our land. So that was my beef with religion. And so when Sinetta, I took the clip, I posted it on Instagram, and so it has I posted it on Instagram. It has thousands of views, and family, you can imagine the comments underneath the Instagram post. People came on there, Dr. Maat, we are Israelites. So you had that claim, and then you had other claims. Oh, Dr. Maat, you don't know what you're talking about. All Abrahamic religions stem from African religions. The oldest Christian church is in Ethiopia. And then they mentioned Augustine, who was an African. He was African, and he was also one of the early church fathers. And people argue that he helped to create Christianity. And so there were a lot of comments. And to me, Brother Garfield, just a lot of misinformation, a lot of misinformation. And you would think, because I know that you, Brother Sinetta, Brother Ark, a lot, myself, we've been having discussions about religion, about Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. We've been talking about this stuff for several years now. So you would think that we would be moving towards, I guess, a better understanding of Christianity, but we're not. A better understanding of Abrahamic religions, but it doesn't seem like we are. And so books like the book that you just held up, the book you wrote, Misconceptions. Let me put it up, brother Garfield. The Misconceptions and Misinformation um, by the Black Hebrew Israelites, Volume 1. That is a book that should be in all of our households. All of our households, because you did some dynamic, some phenomenal work in your book. I still need to bring you on so that we can do a book giveaway. I think I told you I was going to do that some time ago. So I still need to bring you on to do a book giveaway. But let's deal with that, Brother Garfield. Are we Hebrew Israelites? Are we the people of I paused for a little bit. I don't know what happened. But my question again, Brother Garfield, is this. Let's deal with that. Are we the Hebrew Israelites mentioned in the Old Testament? Are we those people?
Well, on a simple answer, no. If you want me to elaborate, we could get into it. And what I'll do is this: we as Africans and I'm using the term African, and people need to understand why we use the term African. We use it in a general sense to show that we are all interconnected from that continent, meaning that the first human beings that we have, the first Homo sapiens sapien, comes from Africa, left out of Africa, and spread it all over the world. So technically, we are all Africans, meaning Europeans are Africans, all of them. But in a general sense, as far as the continent of Africa, that's where we're from. And ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand the separation of the continent too has a lot to do with the Bible, because the Bible says Ham is black. So in essence, they're trying to separate themselves from us. And this is the truth. The truth of the matter is we are Africans, but we are ashamed to be from Africa. We are ashamed to be West and Central Africans. So we said we're from the East. We'd rather be everybody else except West and Central Africans.
That's a fact.
This is a debate that people are mad with me about right now, and they're having conferences and stuff. And I'm saying we don't need to. I know Egypt is great. I know ancient Nubia is great. I know Ethiopia is great. I know Somalia is great. But what about South Africa? What about Zimbabwe? What about Congo? What about Cameroon? Bamaliki, my sister Bamaliki people. Shout out to the Bamaliki people. Shout
And
out to the
I'm wearing my Bamaliki dashiki right now.
That's
But
what's
go ahead.
up. Shout out to my Nigerian Igbo brothers. Shout out to my Yoruba brothers. Shout out to my Ghana Akan brothers. Shout out to even the people in Wida who I dislike because of the slave trade and what they participated in. But at the end of the day, they still my people. They're in my bloodstream. So at the end of the day, I love all Africa. I don't know what's going on with my computer, but I don't know what's my freezing up. It's me. It's my computer. All right.
Okay.
So hold on. What's going on here? Why am I not? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Brother Garfield.
Oh man, I don't know why am I freezing.
Okay, but if you're
Hmm.
we're looking at you and I see you moving. I see your mouth, I see everything moving. So go ahead, Brother
Okay.
Garfield. Share your slides with
All
us
right.
on demonstrating that we're not the Israelites that are mentioned in the Old Testament. I know you said you had a powerful presentation and you actually prepared the presentation because there was a Hebrew Israelite who came on the post and he said, Dr. Ma'at, we are Hebrew Israelites. You have to read Deuteronomy. You have to read Deuteronomy. And I see you're adding another. Oh, there you go. So they told me, the brother said, you have to read, I think it was Deuteronomy chapter 28, where it talks
Mm-hmm.
about bringing you into Egypt by way of ships again. And he says, so these curses apply to us because we are the Hebrew Israelites. And so I said, well, brother, come on the platform. Come on the platform and talk about your views. I want you to teach the people why you believe that we are Israelites. And so he was, oh yeah, I'm coming. And then sent me a message last night. Dr. Ma'at, it's going to take me about 2 hours to break down why we are Hebrew Israelites. And I don't think that you're going to give me enough time. And so I said, brother, obviously you're scared to come on to defend, your beliefs, your views. And so I just told him, good luck to you. And then there were also some Christian apologists who came on the post. But we'll jump into that another time. So go ahead, Brother Garfield. You have the floor. You said Hebrews versus Negroes.
Yeah. No, the reason you might laugh, but this is the problem. We got a
Woo.
PhD in Africa. This brother right here, Professor O. Alizi, he said the Igbos are Hebrew exiles from Israel.
Mm.
I respect the brother with his PhD. I'm not going to call it a player hater degree because he went to school and got his PhD. So shout out to the brother. He had this in his book. To be sold on board a ship, the fine Hebrews. Somebody Photoshop this, sis. This is the original on the side, right here. This is the original on the right-hand side, right here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Somebody Photoshop this, and the brother, the PhD, put this in his book, the one on the left. These guys will do anything to say that they're Israelites. The truth of the matter is, when you look at Deuteronomy 28 and all these scriptures that they want to point out, I look at them and laugh. And the reason why I look at them and laugh is because there's silly claims being made all over everywhere. We're from Wida. Wida means Judah and all this stuff. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to just do a few examples of what's going on with us as a people so that we could basically just go through this real quickly. All right.
Now take your
I
time, Brother Garfield. We're here to learn. Take your time.
I want to basically say to everybody, you have the choice to say who you are. You have the ability to share that information with anybody and do as you like. But I want to help out our people as much as possible. And one of the things I want to talk about is Deuteronomy 28, the curses and the blessings. All right? So how you defeat that conversation is this. There's a book called Iraqi's Last Jews. Iraqi's Last Jews, the American Sephardi community. Let me just read this carefully for everybody. The American Sephardi is proud to sponsor the publication of this important book, a historic series of first-hand recollections from some of the last members of the now vanished Babylonian Jewish community in Iraq. The oldest and longest ever continuous community in the Jewish diaspora. Let me say that again. The oldest and longest ever continuous community in the Jewish diaspora. The Babylonian Jewish diaspora was instrumental through the writing of the Babylonian Talmud in the development of Judaism as we know it today. Given all the important contributions of the Iraqi Jews throughout history, it is remarkable that the community is not even mentioned in conjunction with the remaking of Iraq today. I say that to say this. This group was together for over 2,500 years, family. 2,500 years. 25, yeah, I'm not joking. 2,500 years. Listen to what this group used to do in Iraq. And you got to ask these Jews or these quote unquote African Americans, were they a part of this group? Now look at this. Over its 2,500 years of existence, the Iraqi Jewish community formed a homogeneous group and was able to maintain communal identity, culture, and traditions throughout the centuries. All despite multiple conquests and political upheaval, war, and plagues, they were distinguished from their Iraqi brethren by their old Arabic dialect, Judeo-Arabic, which is replete with biblical Hebrew, biblical references, and words from Turkish, Persian, Turkish, and Aramaic. They were set apart by their dress, their observation of Shabbat, holy days, and kashrut, their unique cuisine, and among many other things. A deep yearning for their spiritual Jerusalem and Zion. They purchased land and established yeshivot, religious houses of study in Jerusalem and Hebron. Their social and religious life was based upon Talmudic and biblical rites, and they led an independent communal life headed by the chief rabbi who oversaw the community's educational system, religious court, and tax imposed upon kosher meat. Now, I'm going to go to my book for a second here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you refute a Hebrew Israelite, period. Ask them, listen to this carefully, and bookmark this part on this live stream. Ask them if anyone in history believed in a Torah and New Testament at the same time and consider themselves a Jew. Let me say that again because it might have gone over your head. Ask them if there's anyone who claims to be a Jew, a Hebrew, or Israelite who believed in the Old Testament and believed in the New Testament at the same time. Nobody. Not one Jew you could find in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in the Levant. No. The people who believed in the New Testament believed that Jesus was the Christ. So then you are a Christian. So the brother who I was going to have the dialogue with is really an exile Christian. He's a Christian. Anyone that believes in Jesus Christ as Christ of the 2,000 years ago is a Christian. So that means my brother Tazariak, Daniela, Hashar, all these brothers that believe in the New Testament, you're just a Christian. Everybody else who they refer to, whether they're black or white, as a Jew, is following rabbinical Judaism, which they say is the wrong Judaism. So why are you associating yourselves? These people over here, they said they were black and they were Jew. What do they believe? They believe in rabbinical Judaism. They believe you should kill Christians. It's justified to kill Christians. That means it's justified to kill you who believe in the New Testament because you are a Christian. What happened is, ladies and gentlemen, in the 1960s, there was a Baptist group that started the Jews for Jesus program. And I don't know if the one Wester, the guys that Ariana them heard about this group, that's when they start mixing the Old Testament with the New Testament. Simple as that. So you could kill them with that. I mean, I have some other stuff that I could just murder them with. But the point is, I wanted to show, let me just show one more thing, a couple more slides. And what I'm going to do is, this is from my book. I talked about the Al Yahuda tablets, reveal life of the exiles in Babylon. What happened is in the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar went to Judea 3 times. What happened, ladies and gentlemen, the people of the Bible, the Israelites, they were essentially bankers. Some of them were bankers. They used to lend countries money. Let me say that again. The Jews of tradition are very good with money. Now look at yourself, African American. Are you good with money? They used to own banks. Do you own banks? It's not us. Now let me get into this for a second. It teaches us that we weren't slaves like we were slaves to the Pharaoh. It teaches us that we were simply free people in Babylon, living not only in Al Yahudu, but also in a dozen other cities where Jews either lived or did their business. So what Nebuchadnezzar did, ladies and gentlemen, he gave them what's called income producing land. So me and you come from Bamaliki, I come from Ghana or Igbo land. Imagine the white man giving us land and say you could make money off this land when we came over as slaves. So they saying that they were slaves in Babylon. I'm saying the record says they weren't slaves. But the Bible is trying to imply that they were slaves, but they weren't. So now me and you come over on the slave trade. Imagine the white man giving us, the slave traders giving us land and say, that's what happened. Nebuchadnezzar gave them land. So they found clay tablets, and this was one of the reasons in my conspiratorial mode I felt they went in and invaded Iraq, because Saddam Hussein did not want to give up this document. And this document actually holds history. It shows 200 clay tablets documenting what they did. They actually owned slaves themselves. So they were senators and congressmen in Nebuchadnezzar's government. Why would me and you come over as slaves? Ain't nobody put us in no government position. We on the plantation trying to escape.
Facts.
But these people now, they weren't slaves. So anyway, the new document provided us for the first time with insights into the social and economic life of Judeans in their own Babylonian community, and they are into relationships with other groups. These are the name of the towns. You see, it was Judah town, Al Yehuda. So they even have a town called Judah town. So these are the name of the towns. They even have Kingstown in here. I could claim them now because Kingston is in Jamaica.
All
I could
right.
claim
Kingston.
that.
so
anyway,
Brother Garfield, let me
this
end
is important. No, this is important. I got to finish this point.
Okay.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, they're in Babylon, right? Watch this. When Nebuchadnezzar forced or encouraged Judeans to come with him to live in Babylon to help in expanding his kingdom is not clear. What is clear, the Judeans were not slaves. The tablets describe details such as trade, transactions, home sales, addresses, inheritances, and other agreements are etched on these stone tablets. And each tablet is also inscribed with the transaction date. Dating the tablets were easy. Each tablet had the day, month, and year of the ruling king. Earliest date was 572 BC, latest was 477 BC. Within the 200 tablets, we have 2 examples of folks talking about returning to Judah, Sidor and Yaeli. But watch this, it gets better, family, because remember in Deuteronomy 28, they like to talk about Deuteronomy 28 from verse 16 to 68. They don't like to talk about verse 1 to 15. Guess why? Verse 1 to 15 is about the blessings that your God gives you. Let me say it again. The blessings and curses depending on how you have. Now watch this, family. This is the Assyrians ruling the ancient Near East. You see they control Egypt and parts of what's called Nubia, right? This is the Assyrians. This is what the Babylonians control. They never controlled Egypt. But watch this now. I'm going to show you something very careful, and I want y'all to listen because Deuteronomy 28 is very important. Look at what verse 12 says. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure. Oh man, that sounds good. I want to get that good treasure, y'all. So good treasure means as in money and so forth. The heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And look at this. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when in our lifetime have you ever heard African Americans lending money to other nations? Give me one example. Now, watch this. Watch how Garfield daggers them to death right now. From the book Vines Intertwined, a history of the Jews and Christians from the Babylonian exile in the advent of Islam. Look at this. Look how Garfield destroys them now. I'm saying that verse is referring to the Jews in Babylon who used to lend the government's money. Persia, Nebuchadnezzar, they lent Nebuchadnezzar money at 12%. Did y'all know that? They was lending money. Now, how could I prove it? Go to the source, Vines Intertwined, Jews of Babylon. Apart from the visitations of Ezra and Nehemiah, we have very little evidence for the growing Jewish community scattered around the Persian Empire. One source, however, allows us to extrapolate the growth of the Jews, namely the Murashu archives. So remember, we have the Al Yahuda tablets, which goes up to 477, from 572 BC to 477. Now we have somewhere from 454 to 404. We have over 800 cuneiform tablets that preserve what? Financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm of the Murashu family. These are Jewish families. The records date from 454 to 404 BC, hence the reigns of Artaxerxes I and Darius II, and deal with members of the royal families, small landowners, and numerous lesser individuals. Among the lesser individuals are many personal names that appear to be of Jewish extraction, about 80 individuals, such as Haggai and Shabbatai. From the details of their transaction, we learned that Jews lived in about 30 villages around the ancient Babylonian city of Nippur. Some served as soldiers and minor customs officials, while others were farmers, merchants. They gave their children Babylonian names, but these offspring in turn revert to naming their children with Jewish names in the third generation. The Jews blended into the acculturation of the empire along with many other minorities, yet retained at least one hallmark of their religion: Sabbath observance. According to the records, they rarely conducted business on the Sabbath, but they are otherwise undistinguished from the rest of the population. It is against this background of striving for religious identity. I'm going to leave that alone. But ladies and gentlemen, go back to the top. They preserve financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm. I didn't make this up. I didn't make this up, family. It's not us. It's just simply not us. And if I go back, I'm not even going to, I don't need to show them. What I could show, one more thing, is the Talmudic academies and where they were located. Nehardia, look where Nehardia is, in Babylon. Pembedita, in Babylon. Surah, in Babylon. They had different places in Babylon where they're situated. They continued to live in that area, ladies and gentlemen, and until they lived there for over 2,500 years on a homogeneous culture. Again, this is deep.
Yeah, it
All
is
right.
deep. It is deep, Brother Garfield. And so we're not Hebrew Israelites, but I like how you touched on that we're just ashamed to be African. I put up a clip of Dr. Malefe Asante saying we're Africans. And as soon as I put that clip on, put it up on Instagram. And family, please subscribe to my Instagram page, Dr. dr.maat, MAAT _ Put up a clip of Dr. Malefe Asante saying we are Africans and we should be unapologetic about being Africans. Man, Brother Garfield, people came on. I'm not an African. Africans sold us in the slave. I'm not African. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I'm not an African. I'm black. I'm not African. I'm just American. But like you said, Brother Garfield, all of this ties to or is rooted in miseducation and self-hate. All of this stuff is rooted in miseducation and self-hate. And I would also add cultural misorientation or theological misorientation. You know, all of that is tied to that. And so, Brother Garfield, I want to move into this idea or discuss the idea or notion that Abrahamic religions are rooted in African religions. It seems like there's like a desire to connect African religions or African spiritual systems, some would say, to Abrahamic religions. They'll say, well, if you look at the, in the Bible, they mention judgment. Well, we had the first depiction of judgment on the walls of Kemet, where you have, Ma'at walking someone to the hall of judgment, and the person's heart is being weighed against a feather, and then their name is being recorded by Jehudi, and then they're led to the throne of Asar. So you have people saying that elements of African, I guess you would say, spiritual systems or religions were elements were taken and utilized in Christian doctrine. And so there are arguments out there that Abrahamic religions are rooted in African religions or African spiritual systems. So what are your thoughts on that, Brother Garfield?
I think for those who know Kemet and how I feel about Kemet, I think Kemet is the greatest civilization that ever existed. Not because of how beautiful it is, but because of how it compiled other African systems into itself. So you'd have West African systems, East Africans, all type of Africans, because it was a hub for Africa. It was a beautiful place that we like to visit. I'll say this about that. I hate to compare Abrahamic faith with Kemet, because we never did what the Abrahamic faith was used. Why didn't they use Egyptian systems to enslave and conquer people the way they did? None of the Assyrians never did it. The Persians never did it. The Greeks never did it. None of them did it. But with the Abrahamic faith, it seems like that story of Ham, which has been misconstrued, was used to say that Ham is black. So if Ham is black, this is why I know the Jews couldn't have been black people per se. Because why would they go throughout history and point out that Ham is bad? They are cursed. They got big lips, thick noses. I mean, big lips, thick noses, and they got big long donkey dicks. Why would they say that and say that we're black and cursed if they were also black? It don't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
So what I want to implore the people, and I got to say this point, I got to make this point in between. No one has ever used Kemet system. Brother Jabari is a practitioner. Brother Jabari, Brother Sean, Wujawu, and people who practice the Kemet systems would never use it to enslave an entire culture. They would never approach it that way. They are humble and they would not do it. That probably was the problem with Kemet system. They was too nice. So now I'm telling you, the Abrahamic faith is one of the reasons why I'm on StreamYard with you right now. Because if they did not misinterpret the Ham story, which is what the Muslims did, it really wasn't the Jews. It was the Muslim. It was a book called The Cave. I'm sorry. It was the Christians, the East Christians. Them dudes are coming on what the Christian stuff. Tell them to come on. Because I'm going to tell them what the Eastern Christians did. They redefined Ham in the book called The Caves of Treasures. And that's what made it Africans being Ham. That's what started it publicly, as far as on a wider scale. Then after that, the Talmudic scholars started to say that we deserve to be decent because we are black and we are Ham. But it started with them. Then the Muslims are the ones that did this. What they did was they made Cush the son of Canaan, or I'm sorry, Canaan the son of Cush, or something to that effect. And what they did was they confused that, because we know that Canaan and Cush are brothers. So they mixed up the Bible tradition and said Cush is the son of Canaan, and Canaan was cursed in the Noah story to be black. So all Africans are black. So we're justifying slavery because in the Bible they were cursed. So they connected the cursedness with blackness. That's why we here today. And the problem is, guess what, too? It gets even deeper.
Come on.
The word Ham don't even mean black. They mistranslated Ham in Hebrew and used the wrong trilateral root. I'm not a linguist, but what happened is they made it the wrong trilateral root, which in Arabic, they found a term that they translated it with to mean hot or black. But it's not, it wasn't that H. It was a different H. And so from that time, the first century, they mistranslated it to mean hot and black. So that's what made us Ham, which is crazy because Ham don't include me and you, sis.
No.
Because Ham is only Libya, Canaan, Egypt, and Nubia. It don't include West Africa. It don't include South Africa, East Africa, Somali. It don't include that area where modern day Abyssinia, Ethiopia is. So at the end of the day, family, we ain't no Hamites. Ain't no Hamites sold y'all if they sold y'all. It was Africans who sold y'all. Of course, I'm never going to deny that. We had traders, the wider. The wider is just the worst place in African history, worst ever. It's just the homie king killed 4,000 wider residents after he defeated them in a ritual for the king. That was just nuts. That's Africans killing Africans. That was nuts. And then the wider people probably deserved it because they used to raid Alada and they used to take the Yoruba people and sell them to the damn Portuguese. So maybe they deserve to die for doing that. So at the end of the day, it's not Africans selling Africans in the sense of you looking at it, it's tribal wars and slave raiding. So if you live in this town and I live in this town right here, you live in Baltimore town, I live in New York, I'm gonna come to Baltimore and snatch up Dr. Maat, which would have been a good catch, by the way. We need a Dr. Maat in New York, yo. We need to bring a Dr. Maat over here.
But no, you're making a good point, because when people hear the Africans sold out other Africans, they think that, back then we got to understand it wasn't such concept, right? It's, I'm Igbo, you Asante, or you Bamaliki, or you whatever. You get what I'm saying? It wasn't that whole concept. We all are Africans. No, you are your people. I come from my people, and that's what it is. And that's why it's important when we study history, we have to study history in its proper context. And a lot of us, we don't do that. We don't do that. Go ahead, Brother Garfield.
I gotta point out though.
Go ahead.
Those people in Dahomey, I gotta stress on it. There are some wicked people. I'm telling you. I'm sorry.
In Benin, you talking about in Benin?
Yeah, that's why they apologize the most for slavery, family. They apologize like 5 to 8 times. Let me tell y'all something. They went to Brazil. They sent people to Brazil 5 times to negotiate. That cannot be forgiven, family. I can't forgive them for that. They negotiated how many slaves they would bring and what they would get in return. They got their little copper and whatever salt or guns, which was the main thing, so that they could beat up the other tribes and conquer them so that they could get more slaves to bring over. The Oyo kingdom was raided several times and they brought Yoruba people over. Now, let me get to why we're not Hebrew Israelites talking about the Bight of Benin. Thank you, Sabio. Look at this, family. Where had the most slaves in the slave trade? Where did the most slaves go, Dr. Maat?
To the Caribbean.
To Brazil.
Yeah. I thought it was the Caribbean, so it went to Brazil, South America.
Over 5 million slaves.
So it would be Brazil and then Caribbean and then North America. I think they said in North America only 10% came to North America, but a lot of them went to the Caribbean. But you said in Brazil. Go ahead and build, brother.
Watch this. How many maroon communities existed in Brazil? Let's take a wild guess.
How many would you say? I don't have a number. I don't want to quantify it.
Just say a number. Trust me, you're gonna love the number that you say. How many maroon communities existed in Brazil during the
Let's say hundreds, thousands. I don't know.
No. Don't laugh. You're right.
Okay. I'm just throwing it out there.
5,000, sis. So 5,000 settlements existed in Brazil, and these people practice what's called Kazombe or Colombe or some type of tradition that they follow religious, right? Now, wouldn't that community, which can't practice religion in front of the slave master, because the Hebrew Israelites like to say, oh, they're scared. They don't want to practice their culture in front of them. So if you're maroon, you now live on your own. You're free to do what you want to do. You're not under the slave master no more. So these 5,000 communities never practice. They're talking about Orishas.
And it's Quilombo, isn't it? Quilombo.
Right. So 5,000 communities talking about Orishas and all that stuff. That's not Hebrew culture. Talk about sacrifice, talking about ancestor worship. That's not Hebraic culture.
Yeah,
this is the people practicing what they were practicing in Africa. So
absolutely.
They brought it because they're maroons. So if there were Hebrews in Africa, did they forget when they got on the plane? Did they have what's called divine amnesia?
Come on.
Family, this is the evidence that you need. Go to all the maroon communities in America. Let's look at the Sa Malo Maroons in Louisiana and see what they practice. They practice a syncretistic Roman Catholic belief mixed with African systems. You look at the slaves, most of them that interacted with the natives here in southern America. Those the southern parts of North America, you had over 50 different maroon communities in America. So if the North Americans are Israelites, Why is it that they're not practicing the culture that they came up before they came on the boat? Why in Jamaica, the Maroons who invented jerk chicken that I love so much, they look here. They invented jerk pork. There was no such thing as jerk chicken. They invented jerk pork, so they was gonna chop up the unkosher meat and put it on a thing and fry it up and cut it up and eat it. These people were practicing what they knew before. And Yahweh was their God. They were practicing what they practicing in Africa and brought it here to the places that they were. The Maroons in Suriname, they were called Cush, the wicked, wretched Cush, and said, and
Teach,
they prayed.
Garfield.
And the Jews in Suriname have a prayer, ladies and gentlemen. We got the primary that we hope that God kills the wicked, wretched Cush that's harassing us, the Maroons in Suriname. These are the Jews in Suriname writing in Hebrew. We got the primaries for that. This is why, if you want to prove you're an Israelite, I'm going the raw born route. I'm just going to show the Maroons and what they did. It's simple. It's simple. Because if they are Jews, and by the way, too, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Yah names on the boats. Only 800 names on the boats had the Yah name on it, right? But come to find out, none of those ships that they were on ever came to the west. They went from one part of Africa to Sierra Leone. It was a part of the illegal slave trade after 1820. So they captured the boats and returned them to Sierra Leone. So they never came to the west. So even if they were Jews, it don't matter. It don't matter. It's only 800 of them. Who cares? What are you saying? And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? None of the names that they have means anything in Hebrew. Like the name Aliyah. Aliyah is a Hebrew name, is a Muslim name, which is a Hebrew name, technically a Hebrew name. We could say that have a meaning, Aliyah. But these names is like Enya, Nyamoli. So what we look at, when you go on the Slave Voyages website, there's a button to press where they show you where the names are. And when you look at the registers, it actually don't even have the names with Yah. It has to do with the pronunciation, because the person who captured them and wrote down the records of their names was either Spanish or English. They don't know how to write African names, so they wrote down 3 different type of names. So if the person say, my name is Nyamoli, or Naya, and so they put the Yah, they spell it out with the Yah because they pronounce their name with a Yah sound. It don't mean YAH. They just say, hey, it sounds like this. Let me just write this down.
Right.
Just kill that whole argument, because I know the guy that was going to come on was going to say that too. He was going to say this. Hold on, let me show you something that he's about to say. And this is funny. Let me share my screen real quick. I have fun talking about the Hebrew.
That's it. I mean, like you said, it is. It's fun, and it's fun, speaking to you, but it's also very educational. Here we go.
Now, this community, the first Free Blacks of Israel Hill, which is very funny because they call the area Israelites. What happened, ladies and gentlemen, there was a guy by the name of Richard Randolph who was related to Thomas Jefferson. He left some land. This was the first interracial community ever in the history of North America. It was an experiment. So what happened is, ladies and gentlemen, he decided to leave for his slaves 350 acres. So they got it. And what happened is the people, there's a book called Israel under Appomattox by Melvin Patrick Eli. He's an expert in the field. And what happened is one of the guys, Sam White's master, Richard Randolph, had offered a radical answer to Jefferson's moral dilemma. He denied that any dilemma existed. Randolph was not content to restore to his slaves their God-given freedom. He also called for them to receive 400 acres of his land on which to build new lives as independent men and women. When Randolph's family carried out his will in 1810, after years of delay, his ex-slaves gave the name Israel Hill to their new home in the rolling terrain of Prince Edward County, and they called themselves Israelites. Now, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, remember, these people started a church. If they started a church, that alone tells you they're not Israelites. Why they not starting a temple? Why they not praying to Yah? And by the way, too, they started a church. I think it wasn't a Roman Catholic church. It was I forgot what type of church it was. But the bottom line is, he was trying to create a small but audacious attempt to demonstrate that a harmonious society containing free people of both races could exist. It was an interracial community. It was an experiment. And he actually started this debate, finalized it. So that was what he did. So that was a
Hmm.
pretty good experiment. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Garfield. Keep rocking off. I'm listening.
All right. So this is what um as a matter of fact, let me not even do that. I got so much stuff on this computer. You know what? Let me leave that alone. Let me go to one more thing. The tribe of Dan. Now all of a sudden they're saying Dahomey, which I just spoke about Dahomey and how wicked and evil they are. Dahomey had a rule: you can't sell anyone in the Dahomean society. I don't know if anybody knew that. You can't sell none of the people, even if they captured you as a slave. Once you're in the Dahomey kingdom, you cannot be sold. Although when the five diplomats went to Brazil, one of those guys sold some of his wives. He had like 40 wives. He sold some of his wives into slavery because they had dried up after they took over from Wida. Right area, the port area had dried up. They wasn't selling as much slaves because of the war. And what happened is the oil kingdom was holding back some of the slaves, so they weren't selling as much. So the dude ended up selling some of his wives. Like, oh man, I got to make some money. Come on, wife, y'all got to go. That
Mm.
was the instance when he sold his own people. But the Dahomey kingdom is not from the tribe of Dan. Now look at this. The name Dan is a part of the tradition, but it has to do with. Let me just read it for y'all. The story was an etymology for the name Dahomey was published as early as 1789. Dan was a king of Abomi, defeated by Dokuduno, who then made good a threat by cutting open Dan's stomach and building his place on the dead king's belly. Stomach, belly, stomach, me equal in, i.e., in the stomach of Dan. So the story was repeated regularly during the next 200 years, though the conquering king was sometimes said to have been Wegbaja or Akaba instead of Dakaduno, and Dan was occasionally called Agrim. False etymologies are common in Dahomean history, and the closely related term Honmi, Ho, portal entrance, particularly to a palace, me equal in, meaning royal palace, appears in other place names. For example, Ajahomi, Aja Royal Palace, the site of a royal residence set up west of the Kofu River during the time of Tegbusi. Hanmi is even used to refer to the central place in Abomi. Danhomi in the stomach of Dan could well have originated as a pun on Danhonmi, the royal palace of Dan. Even if the etymology is false, the story is important because it conveys the bellicose spirit that typified Dahomey from its earliest days and that was deliberately directed toward potential enemies. In similar fashion, Agaja bragged to a European visitor in 1728 that his grandfather, Dakinu, conquered two countries, his father and his brother, while he himself had conquered, a comment that simultaneously underlines Dahomey militarism. So the word, ladies and gentlemen, it ain't got nothing to do with no the tribe of Dan. It's a guy from 1500. That name was Dan, and that's what it has to do with. It's crazy, man, that we have to go through these things and explain. The Fon are one of the largest ethnic groups in Benin and represent around 40% of the total population of the country. Fon are also found in Nigeria and all that stuff. In this book here, it
Good book,
also
by the
talks.
way. Beautiful
Yeah,
book, by the way.
that's the Bible right there. That's the
Yes,
Bible.
absolutely.
The Fon people, it talks about their legacy and the voodoo and all that stuff and their customs. And Naomi was a well-organized. Historical accounts tell use of the king of the Fon who gained control of Abomi and took the throne by killing Da, the king of Abomi. He murdered Da by slicing his stomach and burying him in the foundation of his new palace. Hence he named his new kingdom Dahomey, which literally means Da's belly. And if you look at this, you look at the kingdoms, Abomi's right here. So Abomi's right here, Porto Novo. It's surrounded by Ghana and Nigeria. Ghana to the left, Nigeria to the right. You see Tato. So if you look at the oral traditions, they all are connected with the places that are surrounding them.
So let me ask you this, Brother Garfield, because I want to make sure I understand what you were trying to the point you were trying to make. You mentioned the tribe of Dan. Are you saying that Israelites are making the claim that the tribe of Dan is Dahomey, like they're linked or they're the same people? I was just trying to understand the. It wasn't
Yeah.
clear to me.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
by the way, a few people might be claiming it because the tradition is Dan. And of course, over the years, if somebody repeated biblical traditions after 1980, a lot of these groups jump up. So they jump up and they start saying that they want to be Israel because of when the Ethiopians were airlifted to Israel. After that, people saw a way out of the, like we say, a way out of the hood. They saw a way out of Africa by saying, hey, we Israel. So after 1980, tons of these people started popping up. I'm Israel, I'm Israel. And what happened is Hebrew Judaism has changed. They're willing to convert people into Judaism just like how people are ready to convert to Christianity, the same way. So once you see that, then you start realizing what's going on.
So, Brother Garfield, my next question is this. When I put up my post about, Islam and, well, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam not being indigenous African spiritual systems, there were people on the post who said, Dr. Maat, don't you know that the oldest Christian church is in Ethiopia? And I just went like this, Brother Garfield. It was so much ignorance that I couldn't, it was so much on the post. And so I said, let me do this broadcast, bring on Brother Garfield. I'll probably bring on Brother Ankh this week to also talk about some things. But let's get into the oldest church, or the claim that the oldest Christian church is in Ethiopia.
Now, if they're Christians, who is Paul writing letters to? That answers the question. Think about it. Paul is writing letters to 7 churches. So what I mean, that's the oldest church is in Ethiopia. It don't make any sense.
The oldest Christian church. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Paul is writing to Christian churches, mm-hmm. and try to answer questions. Clement the First is writing to Christian churches. So who are these? What is these churches that he's writing to? If they believe in the Bible, by the way, because I don't believe the Bible per se as whatever 100%. There's stories in there that's real, but at the end of the day, if they're saying they're Christians and they're using the New Testament, then who is Paul writing to? The 7 churches in Asia. Clement the First in 95 AD. Who is he writing to? He's talking about some issues that Paul had responded to somebody who had a question about what Paul wrote. He actually said he saw Paul and Peter in Rome. So what church are they talking about? Remember, and by the way, too, what Ethiopia are you talking about? You can't be talking about the Ethiopia of the Bible, because the Ethiopia in the New Testament is talking about Nubia. You see, that kills them. You see, this is why a lot of them don't want to have a conversation with me. In the chapter, Ethiopia is not Ethiopia, read it. The Bible tells you where Ethiopia is. And the word is not Ethiopia. The word is Cush. The Greeks are the ones that say Ethiopia is Ethiopia, because anywhere black people are, they're quick to say, oh, that's Ethiopia, because it means black. It's actually like a derogatory term. We should even use the term Ethiopia. So at the end of the day, family, it's like me and you using the N-word with each other. We should even use it, because again, it's not our word. It's their word that they called us. They called us. The indigenous term Cush is by those people because the Egyptians called them that from the 2000 BC. We have a record of that. So we don't have to sugarcoat the term Kash or Cush. We know who they're talking about. The people in southern Egypt and northern Sudan, who were originally what we call today Nubians. So the Ethiopia in the Bible, ladies and gentlemen, is referring to that Ethiopia. So if you talk to Dr. Faraji, he'll tell you about Nubian, quote unquote, Nubian Christianity influencing and all that stuff, which I actually agree with. So if they're talking about Ethiopian church, are they talking which Ethiopia? You see, that's the problem. You have to answer that question first, right? Then you go to, because when King Izana took over and he invaded parts of Nubia, the kingdom was so big at the time. Oh man, I wish, because if I try to bring up my book, I know the computer gonna shut down. All right, but listen, if you read my book, family, let me just show y'all real quick the maps. Let me just show y'all real quick, right here. If you could see the maps, hold on, let me see if I could do this big. Hold on a second, yeah.
I can't really see the maps, Brother Garfield. I can see them, but they're not that clear to me. But I see it says maps before
Izana and after Izana. What you'll see that before Izana, Aksumite Empire wasn't involved with Nubia. So what happened is when he invaded, he went shoot up north, and he took on the name Ethiopia for that area. He took on that name. Before him, that era was not known as Ethiopia. That's a historical fact. Remember, the Ethiopians after the 13th century AD decided to start tracing their roots to Solomon and Queen of Sheba. Before during the Aksumite Empire, they trace their roots to Astar and Maher. That's in my book.
Mhm.
They never knew nothing about no Solomon and no Bible. So again, which Ethiopian
Ethiopia. Are you talking
are you
about?
talking about? You talking about the Cush in the Bible? If you're talking about Cush in the Bible, you're talking about the wrong spot. You're talking about the wrong spot. You got to get the spot right.
Mhm, 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 mhm. And so I'm looking at. I just did a little quick Google
I'm
search.
live with Dr. Matt. I'll call you right back.
I just did a quick Google search, and it talked about the Coptic churches in Ethiopia. And it said Coptic churches of Ethiopia, I'm sorry, being the country the first or the second to declare Christianity as the official religion, Coptic churches of Ethiopia date back to around 350 AC. And few countries in the world have so many intact ancient churches in such a variety of styles. And so a part of me, Brother Garfield, feels like people do these quick Google searches, and then say, there's an old church. And then, like you said, not really studying, what Ethiopia are we talking about, when we, not really looking at it as as detailed as you are, doing their due diligence. So, Brother Garfield, thank you for that. My last question is this, and I know we're coming up almost on an hour. There were people on the post who also brought up Augustine, and they said Augustine is a church, early church father who was an African who helped to shape Christianity. Therefore, Christianity is ours because Augustine was an African and he helped shape Christianity. What are your thoughts on that claim, Brother Garfield?
Did they do more than Ignatius? Did they do more than Clement? Did they do more than Polycarp? Did they do more than Diatessaron? What the Diatessaron did? Did they do more than Irenaeus? Irenaeus was the first man to compile 22 books of what's a part of the current New Testament today. He shaped the second century church fathers, shaped Christianity. I'm going to say that again. The white men
Come on.
in history shaped Christianity. Let me give that again. Ignatius, who they claim knew John or was a part of the community where John preached at. Polycarp, who was at the same church or temple where John taught at. Clement of Rome, 95 AD. Justin Martyr of Rome. Let me see who else in the second century I could bring up. I could bring up Irenaeus is the one that wrote the church history of all the groups, the Gnostic groups and the Christian groups, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He's the one that put 22 of the 27 books together. He's the one that started to put a canon together. There's no other man that you could show me before Christ. And by the way, they were Christians at the time following Christianity. You can't show me no group of people at no time period that held Christianity more than them white boys. And I talked to a scholar, a PhD scholar in England, his Jamaican brother, and I asked him the question. As a matter of fact, let me go in my my inbox, and I'm gonna ask the same question that I asked him. With all that they did, those dudes did. His name is Marvin Santiago or Marvin Sanguieri. Let me see. There you go. I found him real quick. I'm gonna show it. Hold on a second. This is the question. Is it fair to say no New Testament in one format as orthodoxy didn't develop until the second century? That was the question. Would it be fair to say Ignatius, Polycarp, Justin Martyr, Tatian, Irenaeus, and with Marcion putting out his own New Testament, because Marcion actually put out the first New Testament, all these folks played a role in the development of the canon? Question sign. Tatian, student of Justin Martyr, wrote the Diatessaron, and after Irenaeus had his own canon with, I think, 22 books. Did the second century play a major role in the preservation and development of Christianity and the New Testament? He said, good question on canonization. I will respond in the morning. He never responded. This was almost a year ago. Because you know what's going to happen? Garfield is a proponent that Christianity is a white man's religion.
I am too. I am as well.
But my argument is different than most people. My argument is that they're living in a Greco-Roman rulership, which is basically white folks, their culture. So you're trying to emulate, if you're trying to raise up Christianity on the level of all the religious thing that's going on with Mithraism, the cult of Isis, the cult of Serapis, the cult of this, the cult of that, all these different cults, you have to raise your level of what you believe to stand the test of time with them. There's a reason why the Romans chose that religion over all the other religions, because they taught that me and you, Dr. Mayat, will come back in the same form. Dr. Mayat, as pretty as you are, and you look in the mirror every morning, wouldn't you want to come back alive pretty the same way? So they got the best argument for the last 2,000 years. Think about it. The Muslims now, they said, man, a lot of men not joining the mosque. How are we going to get these men in the mosque? Put the rumor out, if you accept Allah and the messenger, you're going to get 72 virgins. So that rumor survived and said, oh man, I'm going to get 72 virgins if I believe in Islam. So all the men start joining in Islam. Oh man, I'm going to get me 72 virgins. So at the end of the day, it's all about the best argument. Nobody has come up with an argument better than the Christian argument the last 2,000 years. You're going to come back as you, especially if you think you fly. Hell no, I'm going to be a Christian for the rest of my life. No argument can beat that argument. I'm telling you.
Look, Brother Garfield. Look, Brother Garfield. I think we have one. African American Nationalist Party. He's in the chat. He said we can't ignore that the oldest and most complete biblical text is in Ethiopia. Ethiopian Christianity is an indigenous African religion. Brother, I invite you. Let me shoot you the link. Come on and share your views, brother. African American Nationalist Party. I'm gonna put the link in the chat for you, brother. Go and click the link, brother, and come on in.
So
come
sad.
on in and defend. Yeah, come on in, brother,
So
and talk about those views you have.
So
you say
sad.
Ethiopian Christianity. Doesn't that sound, brother? Just the phrase sounds ridiculous. Ethiopian Christianity. What is that? So, brother, African American Nationalist Party, instead of posted in the chat, I invite you, brother, to come on the platform to talk about this, because a lot of you had a lot of smoke for Dr. Maat on IG, and now it's kind of crickets. It's crickets now that I'm live. I'm sitting out the link, and people, they duck me out. Scripture repairs, they duck me out, man. I sent out the link to some of those brothers who said we are Israelites, Dr. Maat, and Christianity is an indigenous African religion. I said, well, I'll go live at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning and allow you to come on the platform and share your views with everyone. And now they disappeared. I see that some of them deleted their comments, brother Garfield. Some of them deleted their comments on my IG post. They deleted their comments. One guy blocked me, and so I said, okay, but these are people who claim that they believe this stuff. But when you put them to the test, come on, let's talk about it. Let's discuss this. They run. So, brother, African American nationalist. Let me see. African American Nationalist Party. Let me put up his quote. He says, we can't ignore that the oldest and most complete biblical text is in Ethiopia. And then he says,
hey sis, let me respond to that first.
Okay, let's go here.
Now, the text that they have, which is, I don't know if he's talking about the Garima Gospels or whatever, did he know that text was translated from the Greek?
No.
So it can't be the oldest text if it's translated from somewhere. It's translated from the Greek. You see, Ethiopia is really, the better name to use is Abyssinia, because Ethiopia would be Cush, and that Ethiopia right there is not Cush. That's a later thing that was taken on. That name was taken on after Izana had invaded Nubia. Now, watch this, family. If you look at the book that he's looking at, we find Greek elements in the translation to Ge'ez. That's from a linguistic perspective. I can't speak Ge'ez, but my brother Abu can, and others who I know. Now, the issue is, not speak Ge'ez, but write Ge'ez. So if you know that, family, it comes from the Septuagint, then it cannot be at the oldest text. The oldest manuscript we have is the Codex Sinaiticus and the Codex Vaticanus. That's what we have. So we got to be careful. It's the oldest illustrated Bible. That's what it is. And guess what? Tell him to open up the book, because all you're seeing it is white folks. Brother Unk taught me that one 5, 6, 7 years ago.
So all you see is white folks when you open it up.
All the prophets and all the people, Luke and John, all of them white.
Oh my! So it says Ethiopian Christianity is an indigenous African religion. I said, what the hell? What the hell is Ethiopian Christianity? Like,
Again, again,
what is
again,
Ethiopian
again. All right.
Christianity?
If he's coming from a Dr. Faraji point of view, I understand where he's coming from because Dr. Faraji feel all this stuff comes from Nubia and Egypt. I understand that part. If that's where he's coming from, I could debate that, but I don't know where he's coming from. If he's coming from that point of view, I could debate it. If he's saying that just because Ethiopia is within the confines of what we call Africa today, I would beg to differ because if you look at the Demet Empire, not Damat, Demet, DMT. DMT Empire was from 9th century BC all the way to 4th century BC. Now we have the archaeology, and we have the anthropology and the history to prove that these people were worshiping Al-Maka, a South Arabian god. They are influenced by the South Arabian culture because the structures they built during the Demet Empire were what? Were from South Arabia and look like South Arabian structures. In the Nubia now at that time period, the same time period, we have those people following Egypt. They bury their dead like Egypt. They worship the gods that Egypt worship. So we see the influence on Kush, aka Nubia, by Egypt. Now watch this. This is how we know it's two different places. Kush and Demet Empire is two different places. That's where Ethiopia is today. After the Demet Empire, you have the Aksumite Empire. Then you start seeing the worship of Astar and Maher. Maher is Astar's son. Astar's son was where the kings would trace their lineage to. Just like how people want to trace their lineage to Solomon, nobody was reading no Torah in the Aksumite Empire where Egypt is today. Nobody. So I'm saying, if we really want this dialogue, I love it because I'm listen, my Jamaican family, they want to kill me right now. That's why I ain't go to Jamaica and promote my book yet. Because all the Rastafarians hate me because I am exposing that Ethiopia, my family moved to Ethiopia because Selassie gave Jamaicans land to live on. They
Mm,
literally live in Ethiopia now. They're not speaking to me right now because of my book. Because I'm telling that folks that Ethiopia is not Ethiopia. That's a big. If we can't get past that, how are we gonna believe in the Bible?
mm, mm. Yeah, well, I gave him the link, and so I see that he's not coming in. Oh my goodness! Remember that song, Brother Garfield? Scared to death, scared to look. What is it? Hold on,
Yeah,
I think that was
Mob
Mob
Deep,
Deep. Let
Mob
me
Deep.
see.
Yeah.
Let me see. let me see. Scared to death. Hold on. Scared to death. Yeah, scared to look. Hold on. I'm trying to look for those. It was shook ones, but I'm looking for those lyrics. All right, here it is. The lyrics. I'm gonna quote the lyrics. I guess I'm showing my age right now. Where is it? Scared to death. It says, son, they shook. Cause ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Scared to death, scared to look. Cause it says, cause ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. That's how I feel. I feel that I give these people opportunity. I give people opportunity to come on, and as I stated to you, when they come on, you know who I go get. I get the experts.
Yeah.
Go
One
ahead,
last
Brother
point
Garfield.
before I go. A lot
Uh-huh.
of Hebrew Israelites like to point out that Ghana, the Igbos, the Yoruba, and other African cultures have oral traditions today that they come from Israel. I want to say to everybody that's listening, all of it is hogwash.
Mm.
Think about this for a second, Dr. Mayat. There's over 30 million Igbos. There's over 40 million Yoruba. The Akan is like nine different tribes within the Akan, which includes the Asante. Are you telling me right now that those 40 million Akan people, those 30 million Igbos, and those 40 million Yorubas are Israelites? That is actually craziness. And the truth of the matter is, if they were Israelites, how could they come over, especially the Yoruba who were treated by the whiter people so bad? How come when they went to Brazil in all those 55,000, I was about to say 50, how dare I,
Hmm.
those 5,000 maroon communities, not one of them showed Hebraic culture. And
Mm.
we got to understand that the oral traditions change over time period, and it's because of Islam. Islam has the biggest influence on West African oral tradition. With the Arabic sources, you see them writing. What happened is, I talked about the Hausa earlier. The Hausa said they come from the tribe of Nimrod, they come from Mecca, Medina, they come from Canaan, all that stuff. All of that they claim they come from. And that is supposed to be where they come from. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after 1850 or something, or in the 1900s, now they claim in Egypt. This is new. These people are not from Egypt, but Egypt is one of the wonders of the world. I would want to claim Egypt too. I got my Jamaican family talking about how Egypt, Medina is connected to the patois. Listen, family, I'm not saying they're wrong, but come on, man. Ain't nobody trying to claim Egypt before Napoleon made it popular. And it's just the truth. That's just my feeling. Napoleon exposed it, because think about it. If you look at the writings, nobody's claiming Egypt before 1500. Who? In the Arabic sources. If you look at the Arabic sources, there ain't nobody claiming no Egypt. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's possible. I'm not going to be absolute. But since Napoleon exposed Egypt to the world, and we found out, yo, these people here, they're doing the damn thing, man. They invaded Egypt, saw the wonders, saw all of that. Ain't nobody care about Egypt. Egypt was like a open space until the Arabs revived it. Think about it. I'm not being negative towards Kemet. Nobody cared about Kemet after once the Persians took it over. Nobody cared about Kemet. Nobody, except the Greeks. They went in there and they saw some stories, yeah, whatever. But some of them couldn't even read it. Think about it. And then when we say they copied Kemet, we got to be careful. You're going to tell me that these Romans took the time to say, or these Jews took the time to say, okay, we're going to translate this Medjanetta. Who could be able to read it? The common people couldn't even read it. So who took the time to take Medjanetta and put it in a book? Don't it make more sense that under the Greco-Roman culture, you found in Matthew that the people got out the graves and ran out? Where you find it in Kemet? You find it 20 years earlier, you find it in the Roman culture. They writing about how they got out the graves and started running like mummies. So you see that same story in Matthew, because the person who is writing in a Greco-Roman cultural period.
Absolutely.
Paradigm. So they want to make stories that you're familiar with, saying, hey, this happened when my God raised the dead. This happened when my God did this. This happened when my Jesus did it. That's all it is. People, listen, Egypt is the best civilization ever, and I repeat it over and over. It's a wonderful culture. And I know a lot of people say, well, if it's so good and powerful, how do they make people take it over? Because Egypt was like America. They make anybody and anybody come in the country. If I was Egypt, I'd let none of them crazy people get in my country. Damn Semites. But you know what, though? It had to do with trade. It had to do with trade and what's beneficial from a company. They used to get galena, the ink, so they could draw on their faces. That's what they're doing when what's his name, time period, where you see they said those were the Jews coming in. They were buying galena from the people who were living in the desert area of Sinai. And they were living there for years, for centuries, and it was trading galena. Yeah, they was trading. Egypt was trading with everybody. It was trading with Mesopotamia through Palestine. It was a triangular trade, just like the transatlantic trade. They was trading. How did they get that blue ink thingy in Egypt? That blue the crystal thing. How they got it? Because they got it not from Mesopotamia, because it's not from there. It's from Afghanistan or area near there. That they traded to Mesopotamia, that traded to Syria, that traded to Palestine, that traded it to Egypt. That's it. All these things. Look at the cylinder seals that they have. Dr. Maya, the cylinder seals. Did you know the cylinder seals that the Mesopotamians have come from Kemet? Did you know that?
No, not at all.
Yeah, look here. I'm gonna show you right now. This is why when people are arguing about who influenced who, I could make an argument, any argument. But the truth of the matter is, when you look at the cylinder seals that they have in Mesopotamia, that they rub on the walls and all that stuff, it comes from Kemet. Look at this right here. This is the oldest painting of a ship. These are the ships. They said that we copied that from Mesopotamia, but 7800 BC, we already have this in Egypt. We already have this. This is nothing new to us. They dated this to us. 70. Where's the date at? Hold on, let me tell you the date right now. Right here. Right here. See? 7050 BC. That's 9,000 years ago. We had people in northern Sudan join this, showing northern Sudan influence, which is Nubia, influence on Kemet. Because this is how the boats looked in Kemet and Mesopotamia. Yeah. So when Dr. Ben used to say Nubia is the root, in a sense, a lot of it is true. I can't deny that. I'd be a fool if I did that. But as far as the cylinder seals and all that stuff, oh man, right here, cylinder seals. It seems that Al Ubaid, the stone vases were made of diorite, alabaster, white limestone, brecciated gray limestone, serpentine, and steatite, all raw materials found in Egypt. And watch this. The cylinder seals were ancient of impression, which are used to make a unique identifying marker, da 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 da. And you look at you come down and you see what it's made of. The cylinder seals are made of materials. You see, Egyptian faience, and it has lapis lazuli and other stuff, hermatite and obsidian, steatite. All this stuff comes from Kemet, and they use it to make their seals that they have. So I'm not saying they copied Kemet, but the materials they got was from Kemet. So there was trade. There was definitely trade. And that's huge. The cylinder seals come from Kemet. Pre-dynastic Egypt influence in Mesopotamia. Non-indigenous gold from Tepigara, Egyptian gold. Yeah, they got gold from Kemet. How they got it? They got it from a triangular trade. Yeah. So all these things, I mean, I'm not gonna say who influenced who and whatever, but I'm just showing that all the things that people can show, I could show what Kemet has brought to the table. And don't sleep on Suma. Suma brought a lot to the table too. Because I'm not into this who's first stuff, but I'll tell you this. I could tell you people was writing way before in Africa before anywhere else. I'll tell
That's
you
right.
that.
That's a fact. I mean, that's a fact. That's an absolute fact. All right, brother Garfield. Well, I know we've been on for about an hour and 15 minutes actually. And so you brought a lot of beautiful information, a lot of information out. But I know that you're going to have some folks, because of their cognitive dissonance, they won't be able to accept what you said. Some folks, it's kind of like, even if you present the truth to them, they feel comfortable believing what they believe. So you can present all the facts you want, but these people, they don't want to experience any cognitive dissonance. They say, what, I know, I hear what Dr. Maat and Brother Garfield are saying, but I'm comfortable believing in this Bible. I'm comfortable believing in my Torah. You get what I'm saying? And so that, that's just the reality. But family, I hope that everyone under the sound of my voice took something away from this broadcast. And thank you so much for tuning in. I know that this was kind of impromptu, live. I just kind of threw it up and hit the start broadcast or the go live button, and you all came in. So just shout out to all of you. I see Scripture Rapaz. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Sister Tamika's in the building. I see you, Pierre Black. I saw Brother Sean P. Any Harit, um, Johnny B. Everything is everything. Miss Tiffany is in the building. So I see a lot of you. Shout out to you, Mr. Untouchable. Mr. Untouchable, where you been? I haven't seen you in a while, brother. Haven't seen you in a while. Brother Gula is in the building. So thank you all for coming in and tuning in. I see Miss Lamb, Miss Monica Lamb is in the building. Brother Zane is in the building, and Brother Donnie Williams is in the building. Also, Craig Samuels. That's a huge supporter, and I love the brother to death. Huge supporter. And so, family, make sure that you share this broadcast. Sharing is caring. Let's get the information out to the people. Brother Garfield, do you have any closing words, Brother Garfield? Brother
Yes.
Garfield, I told you I do
Yeah.
clean broadcast, man.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's
sorry,
twice.
sis.
That's
My
twice.
apologies. My apologies. My apologies.
Go ahead.
Peace and love, family. Thank you, Dr. Mayat, for having me on your wonderful, beautiful broadcast. I want to say to everybody, I hope you learned something today. If I said anything wrong or incorrect and you have an issue with it and you want to have a dialogue with the brother, I'm here on Dr. Mayat. I'm not the rah-rah type. This is a professional environment. I'm willing to have a discourse where we have a clock. You talk for 3 to 5 minutes. I talk to 3 to 5 minutes in response. And also, if you want to contact me directly, you could email me at askbrothergarfield@gmail.com. That's askbrothergarfield@gmail.com. And come on down. And to the brother in the audience, yeah, I'm going to come back to London soon. And London has shown me so much love as far as sales. When I look at my Amazon sales from London, it's amazing. I took 200 books to London. I squeezed them in my suitcases and my travel and my carry on and my bag. And trust me, the brother said he should have brought 500, bro. And you know what?
Mm.
England showed me. I felt so. Trust me, I feel like moving to England. The love that they showed me brought me to tears because the elders who before me, who didn't have internet, who didn't have Google, who had to travel to fight because of racism to get information, like a J.A. Rogers, a Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, And I love all them brothers because they paved the way for somebody like me who's a amateur at writing books to write a book to put out to the people. So I got to give him that. I got to give Sonny the opportunity. Thank for the opportunity for being on this platform to be even known. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, nothing beats what the elders paved for people like me and dr.maat and
Ashe.
Unk and the rest of the writers. Because I'm telling you, writing a book, you're on a whole nother level. When
Ashe.
I have all these white PhDs saying I'm writing a book, what do you think about? Do you have anything on the prophecies? And I'm serious, family. I got PhDs emailing me and texting me. What I have to write about some prophecies in the Bible. Do you have any suggestions? He asking little old Garfield. So it shows. I mean, I remember this brother went on this PhD went on what's his name show. I forgot what his name is right now. It skips me. And the guy called me and said, "Yo, you know this PhD?" And I said, "Yeah, yo, he says you the best ever, man." I'm like, "Wow." Wow. So they said they sometime when I invite them on, they said, "We don't need to come on. You got this." They're like, "Yo, you got this. We don't need to come on. You got this information already."
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. And Brother Garfield, show your book again. And where can we find your book? Where's the best way? I know you mentioned Amazon, but are you selling it on your website as well?
Yes, but I rather than buy technically I rather than buy it through Amazon, to be honest. Buy it through
Okay.
Amazon. Amazon is fine.
So misconceptions and misinformation by the Black Hebrew Israelites, Volume 1. And you said that once you sell, was it 5,000 copies?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to
Mm-hmm.
bring out, you're going to publish and
Volume
print
2.
your
I got
Volume 2.
actually I
Mhm.
got a second edition coming out. The second edition for this is more scholarly based, meaning it's more index, meaning it's more friendly to like a school environment. So there's the second edition is actually coming out soon because that's the edition that's going to be translated into French. So
Okay.
that's going to be beautiful because it's going to be in libraries. It's going to be in France. Somebody had recommended it get translated in Portuguese for the people in Brazil. Also, in Black History Month, but that's another story for another time. All right,
Okay.
we're doing things. We're
All
doing
right.
big
And
things,
so let
family.
me,
Thanks again.
good, good, good.
Thanks again, sis. I appreciate it.
Good, good, good. And Brother Garfield, thank you so much for coming on, King.
All right, thank you, sis. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
no problem. Peace and love, brother. All right, family. So
Peace.
join me back here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today for the Reid Book Club. We're reading chapter 1, or reading and discussing chapter 1 of the book, The Color of Money. Is behind me. But The Color of Money, Black Banks and the Racial Wealth Gap. Even if you don't have the book, family, still tune in. You're going to learn a lot of good information. I'm telling you, you're going to learn a great deal of information. So I'll be back live again at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Reid Book Club. We are discussing chapter 1 of the book, The Color of Money, Black Banks and the Racial Wealth Gap. So we're going to be going into discussing some history, the Reconstruction period. We're going to be talking about the first Black banks and why did they fail. We're going to be talking about the Freedoms Bureau and the attempt to give us our 40 acres and a mule. So we're going to be talking about all that stuff tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for joining in, family. Peace and Black